Welcome, Bills Mafia, to Bills or Bust, the podcast dedicated to all things Buffalo Bills. I'm Tom Murphy. Join in as we talk about the Buffalo Bills, of course, and also the other 31 teams in the league that will watch us win the Super Bowl or bust. Hey. Welcome, Bills Mafia, to the draft edition of Bills or Bust podcast. I am joined by no stranger of the show, my good buddy, Jason Thurston. How's it going, Jason?
It's going good. I'm glad to be here. I'm excited.
Absolutely.
It's 5 days from the draft, 6 days?
6 days from now.
Yeah, well, we're recording this, yeah.
The 27th. And, have a little bit of Bills news to get to. So I do have to mention the second biggest Bills news of the past week is that one of their biggest fans had a birthday this week, and that would be you, my good buddy, the most positive Bills fan I have ever met. And a happy belated birthday. I know I sent you a birthday wish, but yes, everyone has to know that it is your birthday week.
Yeah. Half a century on this earth. It's quick, right?
Absolutely. Hey, I'm going to be there very, very quickly. I know how that goes. So, and you have been a amazing Bills fan this entire half century, probably till the late 70s. I'm imagining you probably don't remember the 1973 season. I'm thinking
I was in my crib, just rooting on O.J. Simpson, and figuring he'd never do anything wrong.
Exactly, the guy who could do nothing wrong. And and here's a little because we have so much to cover now. We have to keep moving on. But last week's trivia, didn't even know you were going to be the guest on this show, but an absolute layup for you. The trivia question last week is, we all know who first in all-time sacks for the Bills is. A.J. Epinesa, obviously.
Without doubt.
But yes, obviously that is the legend Bruce Smith. Who is second on the Bills' all-time sack list?
This should be a layup, but I've got multiple names in my mind.
What's the first one that comes to your mind? I guarantee you it's it.
I want to say Aaron Schobel.
Yep, 100%.
My other guess would have been Bill Hansen, the next senator from North Dakota.
I'm going to have to look where he lay, but I know he's in the top five. I'm pretty sure Jerry Hughes is in the top five.
Makes sense.
Nobody comes close. I don't think anybody is within 100. Or maybe I think Aaron Schobel is within 100 of Bill sacks, but just not overall sacks.
Wow.
And yes. And before we get into the draft, obviously, I would have loved to have said your birthday was the biggest story in Bills news this past week, but both you and I agree that Damar Hamlin being cleared to come back to the Buffalo Bills, nothing beats that.
As I said to you when I saw it, I wasn't kidding. I really was in tears. I was at work in tears. It's just, I wasn't something that I was, it was just amazing to see. I mean, you suddenly realize all the things that have happened to get there and all that could have happened and how bad it could have been. And when you get to all the steps at the time, we were thinking so many different things that could happen to work, obviously, but then would he be able to recover? Would he have all of his faculties? Would he, the idea that he would possibly play again is incredible. And I think he's going to be a very good player. I think he's going to have an amazing career. I think he's going to be like that hockey player who had the same thing and wound up, maybe not a Hall of Fame career, but I think he will definitely be a very good safety.
Like the effect he's had on people, there may be a special place for him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
It may not be like voted for play, but, and it's also just his like strength and just his all around demeanor has made like, I remember we both like almost everybody thought when that happened, it's just like, can we watch football again?
It was,
and
what do you do in the situation? Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it's just his, commitment, just how he's become like an absolute national icon. And, unfortunately that story made us learn about how just great a human he is.
Yeah, it's sad that it had to be that showed it to us, but
Oh,
oh my gosh!
absolutely.
I mean, one of the things I really love about him is when he's getting attacked by the anti-vax crowd. Not to get political on it, but
Oh,
when he
go
was
for it.
taking
Go
all
for
of
it.
them, but people telling him he's a clone and
Hmm.
the most ridiculous things that you do not want to hear when you are pushing hard to come back. And then in any situation, you don't want to be told you're a clone. And he made jokes about it. He addressed it. He didn't ignore it. He didn't get rude. He just was. He just was kind of a pisher about it. It was cool.
Oh yeah, no, he's just yeah, he's just glad to be back, and
Mhm.
it's one of those things like you said you cried. In a way, I had a little different reaction. I was kind of like, who is this guy? Like, I almost wanted to stop watching football for a brief moment. His recovery definitely got me back more into it. That Patriots game, I was still like, come on, what are you doing? Like, but a lot of us felt that way, and the fact that he's like, yeah, I just want to come back. It's just like, who are you?
If he hadn't played that game, that would have been against his. We didn't know at the time, but it would have been probably not what he would have wanted.
Probably,
But I
probably.
would not if I hadn't heard that he was recovering. If he hadn't given some way of showing that there was a good chance he would recover from this,
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to watch the Patriots game as much as
Oh,
you know.
oh,
I would
absolutely.
say,
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, he definitely eased the mind of most of Bill's mafia, and it's also you probably are aware of the early Vegas odds for comeback player of the year.
yeah,
I think he is like he's something at like minus like 500 right now because it's like if he just sees the field, makes one tackle, it's just
the
who
comeback.
else are you going to give it to? Yeah.
It's one of the biggest comebacks of all time if he does that. So
Oh, for sure.
it's
And
beautiful.
I'm just so glad he's able to do what he like wants to do. And my God, we could probably do like a 5-hour podcast on this man. We just love him so much. But we have so much to cover in this hour. We also have to welcome back Damar. We're so thrilled to have you, and
Can I say one more Damar thing?
please do.
Cool. One of the things I really do love about him, his comeback, is that he has a 7.5 million that were raised while he was recovering,
Mhm.
and immediately he's talking about going into the schools and trying to get CPR training, that saved him, more
Mhm.
mandatory, more ubiquitous around the globe, and also to look into the studies of I don't want to mispronounce it, but the comorbus.
Oh, I think you actually nailed it.
Yeah,
I know if you missed one, I know you. I know if you missed one phonetic syllable in that, you'll be like, "How did I mess that up?" But in my mind, yeah, you nailed it. And no, you're absolutely right. And it's so not surprising from
yeah.
everything we know about this guy is that he's definitely using everything that happened just for the better. That's and it's like, could we not be more proud to have him on our team?
Exactly. Such a lovely guy.
Oh yes, and another lovely guy who is going to be with us for a while is the kicker Tyler Bass, signing a contract extension and looking to be our kicker for the very foreseeable future, and I very much welcome that.
I agree. You've got to have a kicker, and he's proven himself the last couple of years to be one of the 5 best. And when you pay, there are people who will like pay that much for a kicker, but
Mm-hmm.
the kicker, $4 million is about the most you're going to get as a kicker, and it's not
Oh,
going to really
absolutely.
impact the salary cap much at all. And you've got, there are so many times when a game comes down to a kick. With our 3 losses came
Mm-hmm.
down to if he had had a chance to kick, you have a feeling that they would have won at least 2 of those.
Oh yeah, and it's oh yeah, and he was pretty much money on those. We can't expect him to be 100% on those clutch kicks, but that's kind of he kind of reminds me of a last year Ryan Lindell. Remember Ryan Lindell?
Oh, yeah, I
I know you
remember.
do.
Yeah.
We never really Ryan Lindell never got on anybody's bad side. If he missed a kick, it was just like, oh, okay, well, he'll make the next 5. He wasn't like I'm trying to think. No, we've actually been pretty good on kickers. I mean, Dan Carpenter, I think he missed a few, like after that nasty 60-yarder against Detroit. And Hausch Money, he had some struggles, but I mean, Baz has definitely just shown. I mean, especially since the beginning of his career, he'll miss an extra point every now and then, but usually it's to know like, oh, we'll miss that.
I saw one stat that said in 2027, if he stays at this pace, he would be the highest scorer in Bills history. He would break Steve Christie's record for scoring as Bill, and that would be 2 years less than Christie played. So,
oh wow, yeah, that is wild, and it's also because he's also on a team that's going to allow him to score a lot of points, whether it be extra points or even field goals.
True.
He always has that. So yeah, we're very, very happy to have him back. It's something we just don't have to worry about for the foreseeable future.
The one thing I would like to see him improve is there are times when on the kickoff that he's going to kick it out of bounds at the worst possible time.
He did that at least twice last year. He may have done it 3 times. I remember in week 1, and of course when we were up like 17-3 or 17-0 in that first game, and for some reason I almost don't think it's him. I have to say that's coaching. Like, oh yeah, let's tease them a bit. But there's absolutely no reason on kickoffs to ever kick it close to the sideline, unless you're facing like Dante Hall, Mel Gray, or Devin Hester, but those don't really exist these days.
Terrence McGee.
Yes, Terrence McGee, of course. 2007 Terrence McGee.
True.
Oh yeah. But hey, the purpose of this show, it is our Christmas in spring.
It's the most wonderful time
of the year, and it's 3 days.
Yep.
And before we get into it, we both met day 3 of the 2012 draft at Radio City Music Hall.
I was so excited about Tank Carter at the time.
Oh, Tank Carter, Cader. That's right.
And there was the guy who stopped in the middle of his play in college, Zebri Sanders.
That's right. Yes, I think that's still a meme where he just I think he just stayed in the position. And
I've heard he was doing the right thing. Actually, he was doing what he was supposed to do, but it looked terrible.
Yes, it was false start on the other 10 players. And then somehow he probably got called for it. Like, oh yeah, he's like, I'm the only one who was doing what I was supposed to.
It wasn't Jay Cutler standing there, not because he doesn't want to run.
Yes, exactly. It wasn't a don't care.
Checked out.
Oh, yeah. And so yeah, we've talked a lot about how we are going to address this draft. We have the 27th overall pick. We have 6 picks, all in the first 6 rounds. I feel we have so much to cover. We're going to go offense, defense, and kind of go by needs. We may have different needs, but on offense, what I'm going to say our biggest need on offense is.
I will agree wholeheartedly. I know what it's going to be, and yes. Yes. And here's a hint, it is not quarterback. I don't know. I mean, I think we could maybe step up. There might be maybe CJ Stroud. We trade up. No.
I do have to say, if Anthony Richardson falls to 27, we may have to draft him, just because that will just be like a complete draft gold mine for other things, but we probably won't. Yes, obviously we know it is offensive line as far as the most immediate need on offense, not the most immediate need on the team, but on offense, the offensive line. And the listeners of this show are very well aware of my feelings on our right tackle, Spencer Brown.
We've discussed this many times.
And yes, we have had many discussions on this. It does not seem McDermott and Brandon Bean are on the same page with me. They seem to love this man, but I do know they are probably thinking possibly of giving him a little competition at that
They better.
position.
Honestly, I mean, I'm not somebody who says they're on the hot seat if they do this, but they really need to. He shouldn't be unpressured. He shouldn't go in there with only Quesenberry backing him up.
Yes. And
Yeah.
especially, the Bills did a good job. I think they did a good job of making sure maybe the interior line, the two guards. I mean, Morse is etched in stone at center.
Yeah.
But obviously, Saffold, despite making the Pro Bowl, probably our least favorite guard in recent memory.
It would have been the worst Pro Bowl selection if there weren't a backup quarterback with 3 touchdowns getting picked for the Pro Bowl.
Oh yeah, but I actually felt happier for Tyler Huntley than I did for Roger Saffold, because I'm like, dude, you earned 1 Pro Bowl, you did not earn this.
Yeah.
And
Saffold, I mean, honestly, I kind of look back at Saffold, and I can't really blame Bean. It looked like a good idea at the time. It was a 1-year contract, and he had just made the Pro Bowl for real. Not a Marissa Tomei. My cousin Vinny won, but a real time. And I love Marissa Tomei, actually. But
absolutely, Doug.
Yeah, but he had nothing last year. I'm sorry. He seems like a very nice guy. But it just, by all metrics and all standards, it was a disaster.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Jason, you're a nice guy. I don't want you starting at left guard either. It's obviously I'd be very happy for you if you signed that kind of contract, but I'd be a little nervous.
I get back.
But yeah, you have to think probably a competition piece could be taken in the first 2 days. I almost expect it to. You have to think Paris Johnson, Peter Skoronsky, probably well gone at that point.
I would love Skoronsky, but it's never going to happen.
Oh, yeah. And I'm a huge fan of Paris Johnson. If we bankrupted our draft for Paris Johnson, I'd probably be like, well, if we did a Ricky Williams for Paris Johnson, I'd be like, well, you got to do what you got to do.
He's only not on my radar because I know there's no way the Bills would get him. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, we'd have to give up our entire draft and probably 2 first-round picks, because I don't expect us to. So I'm assuming Paris Johnson's probably going to fall to the Bears.
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They would win
there, and they're having a good offseason, I think.
Oh, yeah. They would absolutely win this draft if they got Paris Johnson at 9, because that's a player they could probably reach for at 1, and then they get all these picks. And oh, yeah. So I'm very, very excited, especially since we don't play the Bears again for 4 years unless a Super Bowl happens. But do have to say there are some possibilities at 27. I'm starting to think, there's Broderick Jones. I almost don't think, just seeing the history of the draft, he's a guy, another one I do not think is going to be around at 27. There is talk about Darnell Wright, who we've talked about a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And as I told you, and I'll tell all of Bill's Mafia, I have so far watched 182 highlight reels. I have not completely scouted all these players. And the difference between a highlight reel and an actual reel is highlight reels do not show lowlights.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I see Darnell Wright, who I've seen mocked to us quite a bit, I've kind of come to the realization oh God, he looks great on paper because it's all pass blocking. It's not even that he's not a great run blocker. It almost seems he does not like doing it.
It's like Ted Williams. He would famously take batting swings in the outfield when he probably should have been practicing his fielding, which was not very good.
Yeah, he's probably just, he probably thinks he's Ted Williams. And it's he's going to have a big payday. And I have to think that McBean, as we call him, as we call the duo, for time's sake, of course, we have a short, limited time, and I should not be rambling like this. But I have a feeling they're probably going to look at that and be like, no.
I have a feeling too, and I'm a bit sad about it because, and I kind of agree with it too, because it's been strange. It's not just the lack of effort, but there have been strange interactions with random people on Twitter, and it's a shame. Of all the linemen that I've seen or read about or just heard the vibes, He's one of my favorite players in the draft on that side, but I have a very bad Cyrus Kwanjo feeling about him. That just
Oh yes, that is definitely a name that comes up when I'm like, could this be Cyrus Kwanjo? Could it be Cody Ford? And
yeah,
oh yeah,
or at
and
least
then
never showed up naked in a random Tonawanda parking lot or wherever it was.
oh yeah, absolutely. And then there's also I've seen this guy Anton Harrison. He might not even be around at
Mm.
27.
I like
He
him.
looks very solid.
Yeah, he seems very coachable. Seems somebody who has leadership qualities. That
Oh,
you know, I think it was
absolutely. And I try to get away from like schools and everything. It's like I hear, ooh, big guy from Oklahoma, and I'm like, oh, he's not Cody Ford. That happens. Like sometimes, like it's not the school, it's just the player.
yeah.
And yeah, and then somebody I definitely want to mention. So kind of a guard tackle hybrid from North Dakota State who has Bills Mafia written all over his face is Cody Mock.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've seen him. I've seen him come to us. I feel like he's dropping a little bit, which seems strange because I was seeing him around the late first, early second for a while, and I saw him go knock to us at third a couple weeks ago.
Oh
And
wow! Oh, if he's around in the third and we have not taken an offensive lineman, even if we had, I'm all about Cody Mock. It's sometimes those small school guys, but he just I don't know, he just seems to have it. And North Dakota State, despite being a Division One AA school, I know it's called something else, FCS. It's they've kind of been like the UConn, like women's basketball team of Division One AA. I know I'm like dating myself by 20 years, but they've been a powerhouse. And no, Cody Mock is definitely a guy who I would love to see, especially, I'm definitely thinking right tackle now because we did a good job of maybe improving the interior with Connor McGovern and David Edwards. Like they seem,
David Edwards is a sneaky starter. They signed him for the 1.77 million that Dean likes to give out to stay in the so we can get that third round pick for Tremaine. But he was hurt. But before that, he was playing at a near top level. He was, not Pro Bowl, but just maybe a notch below. And people are saying because he got paid a certain amount that he's not likely to start. But I don't think that's the way Bean and McDermott think. I think you can look at it just last year with Christian Bedford and Kyer Elam.
Oh no, absolutely, yeah, totally agree with you there. I do feel, we will make an offensive line pick somewhere in the first 2 days, and we may go interior. There's some great ones I love. I'm just almost guaranteed we're not going to draft Osiris Torrance. He seems to be drafted way too often to us, and I don't see us taking a guard at 27. It's a fantastic name.
Can we with one with a late offensive tackle possibility? Tyler Steen from Alabama.
Like him. Yeah,
gives me good feelings about it. He has,
and I like the hybrids, the tackles that can go to guard.
He's a pass blocker, not as good in the run, but that seems to be what we're looking for. Huge, 6'6" and 300 something pounds. And I think he's somebody who could push Spencer Brown for the start.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Oh yeah, and there's also a handful of other, tackle guards going to be like round 2, round 3. You got guard Steve Avila, tackle Matthew Bergeron from Syracuse, who we both were pretty fond of, and another maybe day 3 gem because we might draft 1 or 2 more. We both liked Chris Murray out of Oklahoma, who was right guard.
McClendon Curtis, I think, is okay. Out of Tennessee Chattanooga.
Oh, Chattanooga. Yes, I looked at him too. Yeah, he's definitely a good day 3 prospect. Just so many. There's one I've seen mocked to us quite a bit. Nick Saladaveri from Old Dominion, who seems to be going anywhere from round 3 to like undrafted. I haven't been impressed with him, but that's another name. So many names. We have to move along to possibly position of need on offense, which is, I don't even consider it a need really, especially with the free agent signings, but wide receiver, always going to be trying to give Josh weapons. I do expect probably Jackson Smith and Jigba being taken before we pick, unless we trade up. Also, Quentin Johnson, who seems to be dropping.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that too. Why do you think he's dropping? I have no clue on this.
Oh, I've been hearing he's been failing his personality test. Yeah, which probably makes him a red flag for McBean.
That was once you said that, I'm like, yeah, I can see that's probably not a no-go.
Oh yeah, despite the fact that probably one thing we could be looking at is tall wide receivers. There are very few huge big prospects. It's a very much like a slot short receiver kind of year. Josh Downs, Jalen Hyatt, Zay Flowers, who we both love these guys. Maybe in a later round, we both liked Cedric Tillman. Maybe in
there's a good second round pick if you can't get the main guy from first.
Oh yeah, and then one possible, I think we both talked about could be from round 3 to undrafted free agent. He's only 6 feet tall, but that would almost be, kind of a height jump up from our wide receiver 3 to wherever, is Trey Palmer from Nebraska, who just seems to be a long ball god.
Yeah, I like what I saw of him too.
And moving on to running back. Obviously, one of the biggest mock-ees to the Bills at 27 is Bijan Robinson, who seems to be, in any other year pre-2013, would be a top 5 pick.
Maybe 2018 when Saquon Barkley was taken. I've heard him compared to quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely been his draft comparison. And, obviously, it's just my God, with so many holes. We're going to get to linebacker. Obviously, that seems to be the biggest hole we have on our team. But, you just have to think we signed Damian Harris, who seems like he's going to be that perfect complement to James Cook, like the thunder and lightning kind of duo. And
favorite sign. It's a perfect complement to James Cook. I think the running back room is going to surprise some people.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't even be surprised. Why would we draft anybody else in the first 2 days, unless somebody really fell to us? I'm even thinking Bijan Robinson fell to, second round, which he will not. But it's obviously it'll be we have so many more holes to fill. But hey, we have Bijan Robinson. What?
At that point, I would almost be ready to, if we'd already taken somebody that we want at 27, I would almost be ready to trade up to the top of the second round to take it. Not really, but...
Oh, yeah. No, obviously. Well, I'm a huge fan. Remember last year we traded up in the first round a little bit, and then we traded down a little bit. How about the opposite, where we trade down a bit and then trade up in the second round? I think that could be a great move for us.
That might be my ideal choice. I think there's going to be a lot of little choices, things that are about at the same level of need and want at that 27 position. So one or two of them will definitely be there around 31, 32, 33. And then maybe move up. And when we get to linebacker, we can talk about that.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. We could probably do an entire show on linebacker, and we will... Unfortunately, we're going to have to speed past linebacker, but we could do an entire, we could do a 5-hour show on linebacker. And
we do a very quick comment about running backs. Drafting a running back in the first round, there's always a never these days. But it seems to me if you're at the bottom of the first round and you don't have a million holes, you're a team that is near the championship caliber, then it's not the worst idea to take a running back at that position, because at that point you might control him through his almost entire career. And it's you're not really putting yourself back that much.
Absolutely.
You're definitely not putting yourself back much on the salary cap. And to me, that's the one time that I might take a running back hot in this draft. And if Bijan Robinson is a generational running back, then some things do go out the window. It's not my first choice by any means, but
absolutely. I wouldn't be. Oh, no, I understand you completely. We're not building our team around this guy. Our team is built around one guy.
Yeah.
And that's Mike Love. but no,
I was
obviously.
sure that you were going to say Bobby Hart, but
Yes, of course, yes. Well, we'll agree to disagree. But no, it's kind of like when the Chiefs drafted CEH. He had one great year, and then you haven't heard much of him. But we're not in a position where like Todd Gurley, who's going to have like 3 great years, and then just like out of the league. And I mean, that's the risk with taking a running back these days. Their careers are short. We want to make something with that pick, but we probably are in a position where if we, the powers that be that are smarter than us when it comes to this, if they think like, oh yeah, we don't need to do anything else except draft Bijan Robinson because we're going to be like scoring touchdowns 95% of the time with him, like so be it. But probably, as a non-insider, we probably have to think elsewhere of, trying to solidify this team as a whole.
Yeah.
And so quickly, there are people who think we should take a tight end. I know a lot of people have talked about this monstrous, because we do love our big guys. This Darnell Washington.
I know we disagree on this one a little bit.
Yeah, was like a 6'8".
6'8", yeah.
Yeah, he's bigger than most offensive linemen in the 80s.
And that's something too, is that Bean likes to employ a 6th lineman, a big guy touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
I think this could almost be, and then he also likes to employ a blocking wide receiver, although he's not the best blocker. But
he just looks like he can block.
He looks like he should be able to block. Yeah. But his hands are pretty good. He's good with contested catches. He's in the end zone all the time. He's not the best route runner, to say the least, but he's got so much potential. He's got a level, but it's one of those things like a Chantrell Henderson type, different position, but somebody who has all the potential in the world, but doesn't translate to.
If he's around in the 7th round, we should definitely trade a 6th round in 2024 to move into the 7th round.
If we trade down, I think I'd want us to trade down and hope that he drops.
And I would say, like, if we were going to take a tight end in the 1st round, I'd hope it'd be Michael Mayer. I mean, it's just like, and I love Knox. I think he's perfect for this offense. And, we have so many weapons. It's just, I mean, I think that would be the move, and just have this like complete like receiving duo with Knox and Meyer, to go along with the rest of the unit. Obviously, we draft this Darnell Washington. I can't imagine we will, but of course I'll get on board with it. And then, rounding out the offense, or I'd be shocked if we take a quarterback in the first 2 days. Very much so, even though I don't think Kyle Allen screams, safety, like safety backup quarterback, even less than, Case Keenum was. At least Case Keenum had some, real time. I think Kyle Allen is more or less signed as Josh Allen's good friend.
He does have more touchdowns than interceptions, and he's had some winning streaks in the NFL with teams that don't have as much talent as the Bills. So I don't think the season is over. I wouldn't want to think about it. I wouldn't want it to happen, but I think we could still compete, or at least stay around for a few weeks.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't see us moving up to draft Hendon Hooker as our backup quarterback. But maybe some late round, like 6th round gems. Obviously Stetson Bennett. I don't see him being an NFL quarterback, but 2 national championships. Like, that might be nice to have on your bench. That might be a little something. If we drafted him, even in the like 2nd pick of the 5th round, I might be like, okay, that's nice. That's nice.
Although 5th round quarterbacks, the history of it recently is just so bad. Jake Fromm, Nathan Peterman.
And say no more. About that, yes. And also Sam Howell, who was my number 1 rated quarterback last year, dropped to the 5th round, and that's why I'm so glad I still have this platform to talk about the draft. After I was saying Sam Howell was the one can't miss quarterback of last draft, 5th round.
Didn't Mel Kiper say that Julio Jones would never catch in the NFL?
Oh, he's probably said a lot of things, but he was one Josh defender though. So
Oh yeah, no, he was the almost the lone voice at the time. That's one where he was definitely very right, and I was definitely not very right.
oh yeah, it was Mel Kiper and former NFL quarterback analysts who are right about Josh Allen.
Dan Orlovsky, I think, was he was somebody who set me both for him and against him when he was talking about how he reads the field. That he was a bit raw at Wyoming, but there was a teachable possibility. And Dan Orlovsky is now in love with him and was pretty early, pretty early after.
Oh yeah. I mean, aside from Dan Orlovsky liking ranch with his wings, I've been a fan of him.
And the way he stepped outside of the back of the end zone.
Oh yeah, and you know he probably takes that all in stride. It's
he seems to,
and I'm glad he's found a platform to become more famous. Other than that, and so I think it's about time we move to defense, and we would definitely both agree what our biggest hole.
I think it's pretty clear where we're going with this,
and it's not safety.
It's not quarterback.
No, seriously, it's like even if time runs out, we probably won't even have to talk about the defensive backfield. One of the first, we probably have one of the most psyched about octets, if that's even a word, as far as defensive backfield goes.
I can't remember Clay. I think his name Mike Clay. He's a Miami reporter who does the little boxes where he rates every position. He had before we signed Rapp. He had the safeties and cornerbacks at 4%, which is a perfect story. So, it's scary. It's almost like, could we move one of these players to like move up in the draft? But no, let's just keep that. It's, it'll make our defensive line better, and especially if we can draft a solid linebacker, because that is not only did we lose. We are both in the pro Edmonds family. He was your favorite player for years. Yes, I love the draft day. I was so excited we traded up. I know it's got to be. I didn't think there was a chance when I didn't draft Josh Allen or Josh Rosen or whoever in mock drafts. When I didn't draft a quarterback in 2018. It was always Tremaine.
Oh yeah, and in my opinion, he never disappointed. Even when other people were, his biggest crime was not having the flashy early career of Darius Leonard, Fred Warner. People drafted after him, but what are you going to do? You never saw that from them. And also, they were asked to do different roles than Edmonds. Edmonds was not asked to do a lot except be solid, and
he was there
did that very. Oh yeah, and it's why he's making $18 million a year now. And fortunately, I know it's still a sore spot. At least he did not go to a team we hate.
Exactly. I can deal with him on the Bears. I'm kind of intrigued what the Bears are doing anyway.
Yeah. Oh, we can absolutely root for him with the Bears.
But he says, as Sean McDermott said, you don't replace Tremaine Edmonds, which makes me think that the whole thing with Rapp, they're bringing him in as somebody who might play different formations, and he'll get a lot more play I don't think he's going to play middle linebacker, but I think at certain times there'll be more 3 safety, 3 dime packages.
I mean, it's like, I'm very curious if we don't, draft a linebacker, what kind of formation we're going to do. Are we going to do like a, 4-1-6, 5-1-5?
Milano cover everywhere, pretty much.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. His first time Pro Bowler, he can just do everything.
I think there's a lot of people who feel that way, and I'm not that far from it these days.
Oh, yeah. But, and, they're probably obviously big on Bernard, but the lucky thing this year is that we will see how the board falls. But if we, at 27, the number one inside or any, linebacker probably could fall to us at 27. And we both have our list of there's the top 3, and then there's the 4th we're very big on. Obviously, it seems like the top 2 universally are Drew Sanders from Arkansas and Trenton Simpson from Clemson.
Yep. Yeah. Those are the ones I'm hearing. I'm hearing Jack Campbell sometimes.
Yeah, and I've watched highlights, and these are highlight reels I've watched like twice on all of them. Drew Sanders definitely, he seems like he goes from edge to like safety. He doesn't look. It's also hard to compare like size to Tremaine Edmonds, who was just an absolute beast at like 6'6", 240, where Drew Sanders is still kind of a big guy, but he looks so skinny. He looks like he could be a safety, but then he lines up at edge. And I'm kind of like, I'll give McBean that. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Jack Campbell seems like you're kind of, safe, the safe one.
Probably the best middle linebacker, pure middle linebacker in the draft. Or linebacker.
Like definition wise.
Yeah. Drew Sanders, I actually would love that pick. Maybe not at 27. I think you could probably get him. There's a good chance he would fall to the Bills at 59. Or you could trade up in the second. I kind of like the whole, again, this is where when you said the whole trade down in the first, come back in the second, that's where I got like my hands doing a whole Mr. Burns thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because I love the tape on him. I love what I've read about him in his leadership skills. And I don't think that he's not necessarily a middle linebacker, but I'd be curious to bring him in and see where you fit him. Do you have to have a standard middle linebacker? I have a feeling that Sean McDermott is going to do some strange stuff. I think he kind of came back to coaching because he had some really kooky ideas. And I'm excited to see where he goes. I think it's been like 5 or 6 years he's had them pent up. Maybe he didn't want to tell Leslie Frazier or force it on him. And now he's like, okay, he just looks eager. He's like, his eyes pop when he talks about being the defensive coordinator this year. And I think that the linebacker position might end up being something kind of surprising and exciting. And I could see Drew Sanders pairing with Matt Milano and just wreaking havoc.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And, especially with the, the depth that we have at edge, especially with a healthy Von Miller. And obviously this series of defensive backs we have, it's kind of like he may have something, but I would just be shocked if they just do nothing at that position. And, there's also, we have like Trenton Simpson, Clemson's had a great defense for a while. And he could be the first one off the board. And I do have to mention the guy we both liked when we saw him months ago, and all of a sudden he's climbing up these draft boards, is Diane Henley from Washington State. He kind of looks like that guy who's like, oh, he looks like a Bill.
I've had to grab him in the second round whenever I've been doing mock drafts lately. And he looks so much like a Bill. Fast instincts, everything. And a lot of room to improve.
It's those instincts, but then sometimes I'm worried about, like, I haven't heard much of Washington State in a while, and maybe he was just that guy who was just dependent on doing everything for that school. But, it's, we're going to have a good team, and so who knows? Maybe he's going to be that pick that it's like, yeah, the guy was a leader on that team, and he can, he's not going to be forced into a leadership role on this team, and I doubt we'll draft him at 27. That would be pretty wild. But yeah, if we got him, I would definitely feel great about that.
The one guy, the later day 3 guy who I think could be, as you mentioned, leadership, is from Tulane, Dorian Williams. Good team leader, good tackler, fast, like all of that, athletic, good in coverage. Totally one of the best coverage guys coming out this year.
Oh, absolutely. And it's also, this is one thing, and obviously I've never been hired by a football team. There is something about those schools that all of a sudden become like huge successes. Tulane made a major bowl game and actually beat USC and the best quarterback in college football last year, in Caleb Williams. And and Dorian Williams is definitely a guy I have my eye on, because I'm also not against drafting 2 linebackers with 6 picks.
Agreed. Would you, this is kind of crazy, but would you do the Bean from a few years ago, second and third?
Oh, I 100% would, especially if they're in love with Spencer Brown and they know something I don't. If we can get like Jack Campbell and Diane Henley, it's like one of them has to be good. And then it's like problem solved, and I will just I'll buy my tickets to the Super Bowl early.
I don't think it's impossible that Bean would do that, given his history. He likes to do those back-to-back picks, or even mini rounds between too. He does.
It was almost like back to back to back. Epinesa, Rousseau, and Basham. That early
got to work. And I think so far Rousseau has worked, especially when Von Miller is playing. It's great in second role.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I won't get sidetracked. Yeah, Rousseau has definitely shown that he belongs. But then we have to move along. We should do a show on every position, but we have to move on to defensive line. It seems like we're kind of set. We're set for 1 year, but something that needs to be mentioned. As of right now, we have one player on the defensive line signed past 2024, and that's 30-something-year-old Von Miller.
Yeah. Oh, well, also I think Rousseau goes through there too.
Yeah, I mean he'll get that 5-year.
Yeah,
quite confident on that. Edge, we're not going to get a Will Anderson. As much as I'd love us to draft a Miles Murphy, I don't think this is the year. I'd love to have a Murphy jersey. That actually doesn't look like I'm promoting myself.
I did see him mocked to us at least once, and I didn't hate it.
Oh yeah, he's the kind of guy. I've seen him. He's really good. And obviously, we could just be picking like best player available because we are that team. We're a Super Bowl contender regardless.
I think it's where Bernard starts. We're Balin Spector.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Not every team has to be solid at every position, and sometimes it's like this guy, you can't miss on this guy. And that could be their thinking. And I always trust. Obviously, I trust the new Bills more than I do the old Bills. So I'm sure they'll make the right choice with that. I could definitely see us maybe going for a defensive lineman interior. Yeah, in a way, I don't see Kalijah Cansey from Pittsburgh. Great name. And the spelling is fantastic.
The name makes it worth it.
Defensive tackle from Pittsburgh. We kind of know how those worked out in the past 10 years. We talked about that earlier, didn't we? Absolutely, yeah. And also a name that's worth mentioning, Brian Breeze from Clemson. Seems kind of like the Bills kind of pick I had mentioned. We drafted Epinesa. We got him in the second round. He at one time was a top 10 projection. Brian Breeze was. Greg Rousseau at one time was a top 10 projection. We got him at 30 and would not be surprised if Brian Breeze is sitting there at 27 if we go for him, as he has dropped quite handsomely.
I think Bill's Mafia would go a little crazy, but I think it would be a smart move. And as you said, all the defensive tackles, nobody signed. I think they're going to extend Daquan Jones ultimately. God knows what's going to happen with Ed Oliver, especially if he has to remain Edmonds glow up here. But
I will welcome. I love Oliver. Sometimes he seems to go like under the radar, but every now and then it's just he's exactly as advertised.
Also another person. I think you've mentioned him before, and then when I looked at him, this is somebody who has an interesting upside. Gervon Dexter, if we can get him in the third or fourth.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I think, he seems to be kind of going up a little bit. He could be a second-round pick. Definitely, I would not like that pick at 27. At 59, I'd be like, all right, can dig that. Very similar skill set to Ed Oliver, seems. A little bit, he may actually be bigger than Oliver, but Oliver was just one of those, freaks that you had to take. 6'1", 290 defensive tackle. Like, come on.
He was the unanimous number one pick the year before.
Mm-hmm.
After that year.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, and then I have to think I'm not thinking really edge at 27, but possibly a surprise day 2 pick is Byron Young out of Tennessee, who again, as soon as I see these guys, they just seem to keep going up the draft boards.
You got a good eye.
I guess I do, yeah. It's as soon as I see it, it's like, ooh, this is a nice little day 3 gem. And then all of a sudden, it was last year with Christian Watson, like, ooh, look out for him. However, I was the same way with Khalil Shakur, and he dropped to the 5th. And that was an absolute great spot for him. So, yeah, who knows? Maybe I have a future in that. Yeah. Day 3 specialist, Tom Murphy. And
That's what I've always called you.
oh yeah, and absolutely. As we wrap up, I honestly do not see a defensive back taken in the first 2 days, especially with, as I call the octet of the Bills secondary, cornerback. If we somehow manage to get Devon Witherspoon, I love this guy, but it would just be like what are we going to do? Are we going to? I mean, we could trade, Dane Jackson.
Play all cornerbacks. Oops, all cornerbacks.
Oh, yes, exactly. I wouldn't want to put DeMar Hamlin at defensive line, but who knows? It's. McDermott. He may have this crazy vision, but I'm thinking I have heard of this one small school gym from Campbell, Aaron Maddox, who.
Oh, okay.
I know who we've met with. He kind of reminds me of like the poor man Troy Polamalu. And almost looks as like the shaggy hair and everything. And obviously, looking at highlight reels from Campbell, it's not like seeing the highlight reels from like Alabama, Georgia games that are like very upfront. But this guy he looks like a beast, and I know the Bills have met with him, so that might be a pretty good bet for that late 6th round pick.
No, I think in the 4th or 5th or 6th pick, they definitely do need to look at safeties. If the board is not falling terribly for that, they have to think about it, because you do have Hyde and Foyer for a year or two, depending on what goes down. And you've got, there's some interesting people in there. Like I think Hamlin they got Rapp there if they could re-sign him after he gets really excited for being a Bill, and they bring him back. He's young, a solid player. I think DeMar Hamlin is in the mix for the future safety. Sure. I think he played very well when he was in there. And I'm not just saying that. He occasionally get beat, but he's such a good hitter. He's a very good tackler and very sure. And I have a feeling that the second life is just going to really work for him. That said, I think picking a safety for the future, you've got to have at least one in there. One that sort of comes out for me is Daniel Scott from Cal. It just seems like a very Bills pick. The leader of the team, captain of the team, 25 years old, 4-year starter, plays special teams at a high level. He might just be a guy, but I could see them taking a chance on him, and more likely than not, he's there.
And he might be my 100, because there's still some time before the draft. He may be my 183rd view on the draft, because you actually found somebody that I have not scouted yet, and he will be the next one.
I'm shocked.
And because there's no way we are going to draft him, and I'm going to be like, how did you find him before me? Especially when he becomes the next Kurt Schultz,
Kurt Schultz.
Oh yeah. Nothing. Oh yeah, but absolutely, Jason. I'm getting the 2-minute warning, of course, from the producers. But before we go, I'm going to have to give next week's trivia question. I know you know this answer; it's a layup, but you're going to have to tell me after the show.
Okay.
Who is the last tight end the Bills drafted in the first round? I know you know it. Just be happy you know it, and you'll tell me after the show. But Jason, thank you so much for being a part of this very rapid draft preview.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely. And we're going to be talking a lot during this draft. I think, yes, I may have to pay for another data coverage. I'm pretty actually good on that, but yeah, I know phones are going to be blowing up for about 3 days.
Oh no, there will definitely be times when I'll be telling you this guy went. So, and
absolutely,
coming. Yeah.
But again, thank you so much, and thank you, Bills Mafia, for tuning into the draft edition of Bills or Bust podcast. We appreciate it. Enjoy the draft, and let's go Buffalo. Thanks again for listening to Buffalo Bills or Bust. Remember to like and subscribe. Leave a comment, and let's go Buffalo! Buffalo Bills or Bust has been a Samurai Dinosaur production. Copyright 2023.